Moving to file item 41. That's ACR 99. The clerk will read.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 99 by Assemblymember Lopez relative to Salvadoran American Day.
Ms. Lopez, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Today I'm proud to present to you ACR 99, recognize September 6th as a Salvadoran American Day. In the 90s and the 90s, 80s, Salvadorians immigrated to the United States because of the Civil War in Salvador. Many of them settled in the majority cities such as San Francisco and Los Angeles. They still live here today. Today, the Salvadoran American integrate values and cultural practice in the American way. Thank you, members, and asking for your aye vote and to be open the roll. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Mr. Alejo, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also join in with my colleague from San Fernando Valley to rise on behalf of the Latino Caucus in support of ACR 99, which declares September 6th as Salvadoran American Day and recognizes the rich heritage and contributions of Salvadoran American community throughout California. It's the second largest Latino population in our state. With over 1 million Salvadoran Americans living across the Golden State, their economic and cultural contributions are outstanding and are ever present in influencing California's future as well. El Salvador, much like the U.S., sought independence from their imperialist motherland and freedom of colonization, finally achieving it in 1821. But decades of internal political turmoil and danger plagued El Salvador, forcing hundreds of thousands of people to seek peace and security in the United States and discovering the American dream in California. California is host to various Salvadoran Americans who have accomplished great feats in athletics, entertainment, arts, academics, as well as in politics. It is a great pleasure to see it brings me great joy to see my colleagues coming together, recognizing the history of Salvadoran Americans and truly welcoming them in a place they call home, which ACR 99 accomplishes. And lastly, members, I was very proud that last May, I was invited by the President of El Salvador to attend the beatification ceremony of Oscar Romero, who was a national martyr during their civil war. He was a voice for the voiceless, voice for the poor, voice for those people who were victims of atrocities against humanity. Over 75,000 Salvadorans Americans were murdered, men, women, and children during that civil war. And Oscar Romero spoke up against the injustices and spoke for peace and ordered the army to stop the violence against their own people. And today I was glad that Pope Francis declared that he is on his way to finally be canonized, to become the next Latin American saint in the Western Hemisphere. And I was honored to truly be part of that very special day last May. And I look forward to the final process, the canonization step, where he will be made into a saint that will be the pride of all Salvadorans around the world. And with that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Alejo. Mr. Santiago, you are recognized.
Mr. Speaker, members, I'd like to thank our colleague from the San Fernando Valley for bringing this important resolution forward. As representative of the 53rd Assembly District, with a high population of Central Americans, and particularly from the Salvadoreño community, I want to thank our colleague once again and ask folks in this chamber to please support this resolution. Thank you.
Mr. Jones Sawyer, you are recognized from your desk.
Members, I rise today in support of ACR 99, which declares September 6, 2015 as Salvadoran American Day. California has been the destination of choice of Salvadorans since the early 20th century. The city of Los Angeles is home to the largest population of Salvadorans in the country today. Their numerous contributions and rich heritage help make California a great melting pot of diversity. I am proud to stand in support of ACR 99 as chair of the Legislative Black Caucus and add our voices to a resolution that continues to recognize the contributions of the different ethnicities that make up our great state. Members, I strongly request an aye vote on ACR 99.
Okay, members, seeing no additional discussion or debate, Ms. Lopez, you may close if you wish. Would you like co-authors on the resolution?
Yes, please. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Ms. Lopez is requesting that the first roll be open for co-authors. Members, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members wishing to add as co-authors. This is for co-authors, members, on ACR 99. There are 79 co-authors added. Without objection, we may take a voice vote on the resolution. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Ms. Lopez, you are recognized from your desk for your guest introduction. Ms. Lopez, you are recognized.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Please join me to welcome my guests in the back of the chambers. Today with me I have Oscar Hill, President of the FISAL, Silvia Hill, and Oscar Madrid, and Aida Pascual, Mayra Hernandez, and Sandra Chavarria from Variedades con Sandra, Francisco Flores for the Prensa. Also, please welcome my guests in the gallery who traveled from Los Angeles to be here with us today. Thank you so much.
Mr. Gatto, you are also recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to extend a special welcome to Mr. Oscar Gill Sr., part of this delegation. I've known him for about 40 years. He took me to football practice when I was a young boy. He took me to the hospital when I broke my toe in football, and he's just a terrific guy and a pillar of the community in Los Angeles. So welcome, Mr. Oscar Gill Sr. Thank you.
Okay, members, we are moving to Senate third reading. File item 42, pass and retain. File item 43 is SB 600. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 600 by Senator Pan and others enacting a discrimination.
Mr. David Chu, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I rise today to present SB 600, a measure that would amend the Unruh Civil Rights Act of 1959 to outlaw discrimination on the basis of citizenship, immigration status, and language. Our state was built by immigrants, is home to the most immigrants of any state in the country, and leads our country in the diversity of our immigrant communities and linguistic diversity. Unfortunately, our immigrants are some of the most vulnerable to discrimination, hate crimes, and unequal access. Among verified cases of discrimination are instances when persons were denied service or asked to leave establishments because they were conversing with friends or family in a non-English language. Day laborers barred from establishments near where they work. Persons denied entrance to entertainment venues. Radio contests that restrict participants to legal residence. as well as post 9/11 incidents of discrimination against Muslim, Arab, and South Asian American communities in our state. While these individual occurrences may not seem significant to all, they reinforce an atmosphere of discrimination and unequal access to services which should not be tolerated in our great state of California. And with that, I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Chu. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 55, noes 11. Measure passes. File items 44 through 53 pass and retain. File item 54 is SB 175. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 175 by Senator Huff and others, enact land of peace officers.
Mr. Lackey, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. It's my honor to present to you Senate Bill 175, which would require each law enforcement agency that elects to have its officers wear body-worn cameras to develop a policy relating to their use. Body camera technology is a welcome public safety tool, but is still relatively new. Some agencies throughout the U.S. have already started using body cameras without providing comprehensive policies before implementation. Police executives report that wearing cameras has improved officer professionalism and the conduct of community members who are recorded. This bill creates a statewide flexible framework so that local agencies can develop policies and procedures that line up with their community needs, the agency resources, and the constitutional and privacy rights of citizens. Furthermore, Senate Bill 175 would require policies to be developed in cooperation with non-supervisory officers. Recent floor amendments simply clarify that these policies will be in accordance with collective bargaining units for state and local police officers, and this bill has been unanimously supported in both the Senate and the Assembly, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no further debate. Mr. Ridley-Thomas.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I rise in unfortunate opposition to the proposal at this time. I thank the gentleman from the Antelope Valley for bringing it and floor managing it, and for granting the courtesy of further dialogue. Here's where those of us stand who've been paying attention to at least this individual from South Los Angeles and paying attention to SB 175. This is about the deployment of body cameras, transparency, and accountability in policing. It is one of the few proposals on those topics that advanced as far as it did. And individuals in this body and in the other house are to be commended for their work thus far. However, if we are to pass this proposal today, and it is to go back to the Senate or go to the governor, it will be far short of the accountability that individuals will expect when they believe that a body camera scheme has been enacted by this legislature and by the governor. The deficiencies are such. There is no statewide oversight in this bill. This gives the responsibility to local jurisdictions, many of whom, as we know, do not necessarily have the financial resources or the technical assistance to enact such regulations. There are a number of logistical challenges that are very difficult with respect to deploying body cameras, the most sensitive of which are the procurement of such technologies. They are prohibitively expensive on an individual basis, even for large law enforcement agencies such as those in the area that I represent in greater Los Angeles. So for smaller jurisdictions, special districts, and local education associations and municipalities and even small counties, if they are to try to embrace the concept of body cameras, it will be much more expensive. In my personal opinion, and with the input of the floor manager and the author, I'd like to see if we can continue to work on this proposal, develop a statewide standard, potentially with the Department of Justice or the Peace Officer Standard Training Commission as an oversight body that can help with bulk purchasing. Everybody understands public procurement on this floor, so that we can get a good investment and ROI for the taxpayer, and that we can have true accountability, so that we don't have 400 or 500 different regulatory schemes with respect to body cameras, and so that when a member of the public, a member of the media, someone who is traveling to California and expects that in the event of a law enforcement interaction that goes negative, that they believe that they have body cameras as a part of the accountability tools on both sides of the equation, that they in fact do have a real scheme that you can access, that is understood to have the protections of law and reasonable technology, and that have been set up and that are accountable, and that they can in fact get their justice, be it a member of the public, a member of the media, a member of the public's family, or law enforcement management, or a curious taxpayer. So at this time, I would ask that those who share similar concerns lay off of the bill, not to kill it because it is a meritorious proposal. It is an important first step, but we need to improve it if we're going to have a real, honest, effective body camera scheme in California. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would respectfully ask that on SB 175 that those who share similar concerns lay off at this time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Cork, you're recognized.
So I'm torn here, but look, this is the best bill we could pass so far. These other bills, some of which were better, didn't pass because they didn't get all the Democratic votes. So it is we who killed them, the Democratic caucus. This is as good as we can do right now, and I therefore urge an aye vote.
Mr. Alejo.
Thank you very much. I also rise in asking my colleagues to stay off this bill. Nobody understands this issue better than me. My district last year went through some very difficult times. One of my cities, the largest city in my district in Salinas, we had 4 officer-related deaths in a matter of 4 months. It would cause a lot of tension on the east side of Salinas. It was an issue that was very important to me, and that's why we introduced bills this year to have a more comprehensive approach. There was bills by the chairman of the Black Caucus, chairman of the Latino Caucus, my colleague from San Diego, who had lengthy discussions. We rolled up our sleeves to come up with a policy statewide that would really work for all of our communities. But this bill is not it. This is half-baked. So I'm asking, let us do the work. Let us come up with a better bill and stay off this bill on this floor today.
Dr. Weber, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker and members, clearly this is a topic of tremendous significance to all of us here on the floor, some more than others, but surely all of us have been faced with a tremendous challenge in our communities, in this state, and this nation concerning the issue of police violence, the issues of transparency, and the role that body cameras will play in that process. Many of us have fought numerous battles on this floor to try to create a bill, and it's not an easy task to do, to provide for the state and for the people of California some type of legislation that would provide for them the security and the feeling that we hear them, that we want the transparency, that we want a fair policy that's there. This bill, with all of its efforts, is really an anemic response to a crisis that we face. It provides no oversight for the policy. It provides no statewide standards actually for what body cameras would be. And as I pointed out 9 months ago, that if you live in a place like San Diego or Los Angeles or anywhere in California, and every jurisdiction has the opportunity to write its own policy, that as you drive from place to place to place, you have no idea in a matter of 10 miles exactly what policy you're faced with something as critical as body cameras. We can do better. We've said this is the best we can do. I don't believe that. I don't believe we worked hard enough on this issue. I know there are people who are still trying to work on this issue, but I know that this is not the best we can do. And if it is the best that we can do, we should be ashamed of ourselves as legislators in terms of not being able to provide for the people of California the assurance that there's a camera, there's some policies that provide for them some assurance that there's some fairness and some justice in the area of law enforcement. I ask that you look at this very carefully. We're faced with a crisis in San Diego of a recent incident that occurred where our community is in uproar over the fact that they've not been able to look at some footage in terms of a recent shooting. And that issue has not really, and as a result, the community has no input, no oversight, and neither do many of the agencies that are there. We have to do better. We listened the last week to what happened in Los Angeles 50 years ago. And we committed ourselves to not continue the same kind of crisis environment that's there, that happens when people don't feel they're being heard, don't feel that their issues are clear, don't feel that we are responding to it. This issue is the most important issue we've dealt with this year in terms of community relationships. And we want to have a policy that gives them the assurance that their police department hears them, that they have a fair vision of what is going on, and that they can get justice, whatever it may be, that they will get justice. I respectfully ask that, and I thank Mr. Huff and those who work hard on this, but unlike my colleague, I don't believe this is good enough. I don't believe we've done the best that we can as we look at the bill that's come out. It's really just a shell that has no content in it that's significant. And I know that the people on this floor have talked about this issue and that we want a bill that is stronger and that will give us more. And I think many are willing to work with Mr. Huff and others to make sure that we have a bipartisan bill that really addresses this most important issue that's facing our communities, and that many of us will not go back to our communities and give this bill and say, this is the best the legislature could do, because it really is not. I ask that you lay off this bill until we actually get a bill that we can all be proud of and feel that there's some fairness on both sides of the aisle in terms of the police as well as the community, and there's some oversight that we feel good about, whether it's Post, whether it's DOJ, or whomever, but it's a bill that has some some accountability attached to it. I respectfully ask that you not support SB 175 at this time.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, Assemblymember Lackey, you may close.
Yes, thank you, Speaker and members. Let me just respond by thanking my colleagues for their input. But as a law enforcement professional, I have to tell you that this is an important bill. This is important that we give our local communities the confidence they deserve in crafting their own policy and holding people accountable to those policies. Local government is more easily accessible and more responsive to its constituents. And I have to tell you that the one-size-fits-all oversight sends the wrong message. And we need to build the relationship between our community members and our law enforcement. And for us to say no at this point, to say no that you don't have the authority or the ability and the trust to make the right decisions when it comes to crafting policy, I think that that's a very scary message to send, and I ask for your aye vote on this measure.
This time the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Call's been moved by Mr. Lackey. Colleagues, we're going to pass and retain file items 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, and we're going to take up file item 60 for amendments. SB 18, the clerk will read.
Senate Bill 18 with amendments by Assemblymember Mullen.
Mr. Mullen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I rise to present amendments to Senate Bill 18, which requires the Joint Legislative Budget Committee to review any contract between the CPUC and a criminal defense attorney before the contract may be approved. Amendments are technical and clarify that the questions the PUC needs to answer about the contract need not actually be written in the contract, but may accompany it in a separate document. I ask for an aye vote on the amendments.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, we can take a voice vote on the amendments. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The bill is out to print and back on file. So, colleagues, we're going to pass and retain items, file items 61 through 71. We're going to take file item 72 for purposes of amendments. SB 516, the clerk will read.
Senate Bill 516 with amendments by Assemblymember Grove.
Ms. Grove, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. I rise to present amendments on SB 516 on behalf of Senator Fuller. The bill passed this House at 79-0 on a vote last month, but has come back to us with requested amendments from CHP and Caltrans. Current law requires approval from Caltrans to make modifications to roadways or areas directly adjacent to roadways known as right-of-ways. The amendments just clarify the modifications that made under this section are also subject to these requirements on the right-of-ways. Caltrans and CHP were directly involved in developing this clarification on these amendments. I ask for your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, we can take a voice vote on these amendments. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The bill is out to print and back on file. Going now to file item 73 for amendments only, SB 489. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 489 with amendments by Assemblymember Alejo.
Mr. Alejo, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. The proposed amendments to SB 489 make minor technical changes to the bill's intent language. I respectfully ask your aye vote on the amendments.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, we can also take a voice vote on these amendments. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The bill is out to print and back on file.